the fight card of the century, UFC 300 this weekend, and we're gonna do something I don't think we've ever done before, Alex. We're gonna go through every fight of the card.
Every single one.
As Dana White said, and I agree with him, every one of these fights could be a main event, at least of a fight night.
Yeah, definitely of main event caliber. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Looking at the first fight on the early prelims, that's starting our time at what, like 7 p.m.?
5 o'clock.
Oh, 5 o'clock, okay. Our time, 5 o'clock. Davis and Figueiredo.
I mean, you have a former champ opening the card.
That's ridiculous.
2 former champs opening the card.
Cody Garbrandt, he's had his own share of impressive performances.
Yeah, 2 former champs. Figueiredo, 11 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw in the UFC. He's 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights, but the caveat is 4 of those are against Brandon Moreno.
It's not even that I don't like talking about Figueiredo. It's that he's good. He just spent 4 years of his life fighting one person.
Same thing with Moreno. It's like, yeah.
Right.
And then Cody Garbrandt, who's 9-5 in the UFC, 2 straight wins after losing 6 out of 7. He was the champ, lost 6 out of 7 fights. He's won 2 in a row.
Fell hard.
So is he getting momentum back? It looked like he may be. He's still somehow only 32 years old, which is crazy. But these are 2 guys that the way they fight, they're going to come out, they're going to open this main card with a bang.
Yeah, and they're going to come out swinging.
One of these guys is going to get knocked out. I think the way they fight, I think one of these guys is going to get knocked out. Figueiredo, this is his second fight at 135.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He handled Rob Font.
The way he handled Rob Font was very impressive. A lot of people had doubts about him moving up, and he kind of... Because Rob Font's a tough fight.
I mean, I get it. He's like my height. He's like 5'5", 5'6". He's not a very tall guy.
You know what's going to be weird? You know you're small when you're going to fight Cody Garbrandt, and he has 3 inches in height.
Yeah, because Cody Garbrandt seems like a big guy in this fight, and he's not a very... Like, in the scale of all people, he's not a big guy. But yeah, I think personally what's going to happen on this fight, I think it's going to be a lot of what we've seen in the last fight with Figueiredo against Font. You know, he's going to control him on the ground. He's going to do the necessary work.
Now, Cody Garbrandt, he's a college wrestler.
I know he can score his takedowns to keep it even, but I just think that Figueiredo's been doing this at a very high level for a long time, and I think the benefit of him gaining weight to fight, not cutting weight, is he's just going to have more power. And I think he showed that with Rob Font, where Rob Font's a bigger guy, and he was just kind of ragdolling him.
Yeah, that is true. And one theme of this whole card, which is evident in this first fight, is former champs. Champs and former champs. Both these guys former champs. Both these guys know how to win. I tend to agree with you. I think Figueiredo is in a better place in his career, despite him being 4 years older. I think Figueiredo comes out. I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight. It's going to be one that it's going to put butts in the seat at 5 o'clock our time, whatever time it is in Vegas. I think it's 3 o'clock.
People are going to be there. That place is going to be packed from the first fight on.
And I think Figueiredo puts on a show. I think Figueiredo gets the win over Cody Garbrandt.
I agree, and so does my kid.
There you go. Let's move on to the next fight. 2 vets. A 37-year-old Bobby Green, 31 wins, 15 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest. He has 12 wins, 10 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest in the UFC. So batting right about 500.
Yeah. And
he's taking on the ultimate vet, the 40-year-old Jim Miller. 26 UFC wins. 26 wins, 16 losses, 1 draw. That's the most all time in the UFC. Both guys have seemed to have found like a rebound later in their career. Jim Miller's won 2 fights in a row. He's actually looking good with 2 straight finishes. Bobby Green did lose his last fight kind of in devastating fashion.
Yeah, it was a bad
But honestly, it wasn't devastating fashion in the fact that he got knocked out that bad.
It's just bad to get knocked out.
Well, it was bad only because the ref let it get bad. It should have been stopped way before, and he just kept getting
teed off on by Jalen Turner.
Kept getting teed off on. But Jim Miller, I mean, he is, I think, obviously at this point he's a fan favorite. The way he's been fighting lately is nothing short of inspiring. He's a 40-year-old dude out there finishing dudes.
Yeah, he won at UFC 100. He won at UFC 200. And I think
he has a legitimate shot to win at UFC 300.
Even though he's a slight underdog, he's coming in at plus 150. I think he's going to do what he has to do. And I think he's going to win at UFC 300. I think he's going to take home the trifecta. Probably, I don't even want to say retire.
I don't
He's
think he's
looking too
gonna
good
retire.
right now. I would like to see him retire if he wins, but I don't think he will.
I'm picking Jim Miller too. I think he gets his third straight finish in this.
I think he's going to do great with this performance. I think he's coming out strong, and I think he's going to be, ready to swang on Bobby King Green.
All right, let's move on. Third fight of the night in the early prelims still. Another former champ, Jessica Andrade. 25 wins, 12 losses, 16-10 in the UFC. She's taking on Mariana Rodriguez.
Yep.
7 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws in the UFC.
Now, Andrade's coming off of that KO victory to Dern.
She is coming off, but before that she had lost 3 in a row.
She did lose 3 in a row, so she's like, 2-3 in her last 5? It's not the best, but she's rebounded well.
And she's taking on a girl in Rodriguez who's really good on the feet. She's also coming off of a win against a slightly less impressive win against Michelle Waterson-Gomez for the second time.
Yeah, she got the TKO victory there.
She did have 2 losses in a row before that, so it was a nice way to rebound for her. So it's both girls coming in. They're coming in off of wins after losing streaks.
Right.
So it's like who can reestablish, who can get the winning streak going.
Okay, so I got a couple stats to throw out there, see if it... I know it's one of the things that helped me determine who I thought was going to win.
All right, hit me with it.
When Marina Rodriguez is the longer fighter, like she is in this fight, she's 6-2-2.
Jessica Andrade's only 5-1, which is crazy.
That is crazy. They never portray the height. You can't portray the height well on TV when they're fighting. It doesn't play well. Marina Rodriguez is the underdog coming in, albeit slight at plus 115. She has never lost in the UFC as an underdog. She's a perfect 3-0. I think, based on those 2 things, she's going to move to a perfect 4-0 as an underdog. Probably by the time the fight card starts, it's going to be kind of a toss-up, if you will. But right now, as a dog, that's what I'm ranking it as. I think she's going to win. I think she's going to go 4-0. Probably win by decision, but she's a longer fighter. She's got a good ground game. I think she's going to defend well. And Andrade's just not going to have what it takes, unfortunately, for her.
I agree with you. I got Rodriguez winning most likely by decision.
Boom.
So let's move on. Last fight of the early prelims.
Which still leaves us with like 10 fights.
Still leaves us with 10 fights and it's still a banger of a fight. Jalen Turner, the Tarantula. As we talked about earlier, coming off of the brutal win over Bobby Green.
And he's 3-2 in his last 5. He's only lost twice. He's been on kind of a hot streak.
He's 7-4 in the UFC, and all 7 of his wins are by finish, which is a very impressive thing to do. And he's taking on Renato Moicano, Money Moicano, 10-5 in the UFC. 6 of those wins are by sub, which is impressive. So this is, again, although Jalen Turner does have a ground game, he's so long.
Yep.
It's kind of a stylistic matchup. Jalen Turner, you would say coming into this, the better striker, the more impressive striker, and he's taking on a guy, Moicano, who is deadly on the ground.
Definitely deadly on the ground, and Jalen Turner is an absolute behemoth in the lightweight division. 6'3", 77-inch reach. He's got a towering 5-inch reach. When
he can put it
5 inches taller. We've seen him at his best, and I think when he's at his best, he can turn that into victories. He's 7-3 against shorter reach, which I guess in the lightweight division he's always got shorter reach.
Yeah, so he's 7-4 in the UFC. So
right, it's not much off of there, but he is 6-2 as the favorite. So he's proven that he's won and lost as the underdog.
Moicano's won 5 out of 6 though. He's been looking good lately.
And look,
and 2 in a row.
When Moicano dominated on the ground last time
against Dober,
we said.
That was only in February, too.
We said that one of the best options for him would be to fight Jalen Turner. People called me crazy. People called us crazy. But look what we got. So, I think Jalen Turner is going to win here. I think he's going to do what he has to do. Excuse me. And I think the reach advantage, the size advantage, him using the reach and everything is what's going to help him stuff those takedowns. If you can't lock your hands, you can't get the takedown.
I think this is one of the many fights on the card that is really, honestly and truly a toss-up damn near. But I agree with you. I think Jalen Turner, I think the length is going to play a factor. I think he's good enough on the ground. He has strong enough ground game where he can semi-neutralize Moicano. and then it's going to come down to the hands, and I think Jalen Turner has better hands. So I got Jalen Turner as well.
All right, next up.
Now we move on to the regular prelims.
Yeah, first fight of the regular prelims, like we said, they're all like bangers. Sodik Super Yusuf taking on Diego Lopez. Sodik Yusuf is 13-3 in his career. Diego Lopez is 23-6. Yusuf's 3-2 in his last 5. His last fight was a decision loss to Edson Barboza.
To the vet Edson Barboza.
6-2 in the UFC, whereas Lopez is 4-1 in his last 5.
He's 2-1 in the UFC, but he's won 2 in a row after his first loss.
Right, and his first loss, admittedly, was to Movsar Evloev. So
yeah, Evloev's beating everybody. Right, that's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the boogeyman. Nobody wants to fight in that division.
Exactly. So you leave that up in the featherweights.
Diego Lopez too is like one of the most exciting fighters. His last 2 fights have been so exciting and so impressive.
No, he really has performed well.
Both of them by finish.
Lopez has never lost as the favorite, which he is the slight favorite now.
I mean, he can beat you anyway, too. 12 subs, 9 KOs in his career.
Yeah, only going to the card 6 times total, winning twice.
1 of each in the UFC. I really like Diego Lopez. I think he's a guy the UFC's trying to get behind. They're putting him more on the embedded. I think he's a guy, he's a unique-looking guy. He's a crazy hair. He's likable.
He's got the weird chest tattoo.
He's fun to watch. I really like Diego Lopez. I think this is going to be a very entertaining fight against Yusuf.
I agree. I think he's going to win. Diego Lopez is going to win against Yusuf. I think it is a great matchup. I think Sodik Yusuf is going to, his striking background is going to play a big factor in the fight where it's going to make Lopez think and recalculate. But ultimately, I think Diego Lopez is going to have to answer for the striking. And given that he can mix it up when he needs to mix it up, or not when he needs to, but he has the ability to just kind of do whatever, go to the ground, strike, get against the fence. I think that's going to be his clear path to victory. He's probably going to win. I'd like to say finish.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Diego Lopez gets the finish in this. Let's move on to the next fight. It continues with the theme I mentioned earlier. Former champ Holly Holm, the 42-year-old, taking on UFC newcomer Kayla Harrison. Although Kayla Harrison, former PFL champ, 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo. She's a dog.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the biggest discrepancies in terms of odds. Kayla Harrison, the heavy favorite.
Yeah, it's like the third biggest on the whole card.
As I said, her UFC debut, but she's 16-1 overall in MMA, 15-1 in the PFL. Holly Holm, 15-6, won no contest, but 8-6-1 in the UFC. Her last fight. All right, so let's jump to the main card. Finally, the main card, UFC 300, and we're going to open up the main card with probably the biggest mismatch in the entire card.
Minus 2,500. Plus 1,000, Bo Nickel over Cody Brundage.
Bo Nickel, 5-0, 2-0 in the UFC, both finishes. I mean...
That's an absolutely wild first fight of the main card to be putting on. Heavy wrestlers.
Bo Nickel is... They know he's a superstar at this point.
Yeah, he's proved it.
Even only 2 fights in, they know his level. They know how committed he is. And I think everybody can see he's a legitimate... I mean, a couple more wins... Before he gets to 10 wins, he's going to be in title consideration.
He's 5-0 in his career, and he's proving everybody wrong at every turn. That's just quite simple.
And he's taking on Brundage, who's 10-5, but 4-4 in the UFC. He is on a 2-fight winning streak, so it seems like maybe he's kind of starting to figure things out. His last fight was in December of round 1 KO, so maybe his most impressive performance coming off of. But man, he's running into a buzzsaw.
I think it's pretty easy to say here that I got Bo Nickel winning the fight.
Yeah, I think Bo Nickel, just elite wrestling. Although Brundage is a good wrestler,
I think that's going to cause the fight to go a little bit more on the hands, and at that point, it's going to cause a problem for Brundage.
I agree. I got Bo Nickel. I think he finishes it first round. I think he could do it anyway too.
Next up,
another former champ,
Charles
Do Bronx makes his return. Fan favorite.
Arman Sarukian. I'm not even going to try to say his nickname.
Yeah, Arman Sarukian. Oliveira, 34 wins, 9 losses, 1 no contest. He has 22 wins in the UFC. 16 of those submissions, which is the most all-time.
4-1 in his last 5, with his only loss being to Islam.
He's won 12 out of 13, and he's only lost to Islam.
He finished Poirier, Chandler, Gaethje, and Darush. He just walked through the top 5.
In the notes about... Yeah, he literally walked through him until he fought Islam. In my notes, one of the lines, all I put about Do Bronx was dog.
Yeah, he's a
because
dog.
he's a dog, and
plain and simple.
he's a guy like you can't not like. I think everybody. I'm a Poirier fan, and I love Charles de Bronx Oliveira.
Right. No, I agree. He's a great fighter. He's humble. He's a good guy, it seems.
And speaking of not being humble,
Tsarukyan
is not humble at all.
Now, he's 8-2 in the UFC. He's also, like, he's young, but he's tearing through the
8-2 in the UFC, and his first fight in the UFC was a loss to Islam.
Yeah, his debut was a loss to Islam.
And it was Islam's arguably one of his toughest fights he's had besides his loss.
And his only other loss was to Mateusz Gamrot, who's a Poirier training partner. You know, he's off a victory as well. He's also a great fighter. So, this is an up-and-comer versus a vet. A very crazy matchup for both sides.
And I think the winner of this gets a title shot.
I mean, there's a huge pecking order. The title for the lightweight division is going to be very contentious for the foreseeable future.
I agree. And one interesting thing, both guys coming off first round demolishing of Beneil Dariush.
Right.
Oliveira did it in June of last year in his last fight. Arman did it in December of last year. So they both just beating up on poor Beneil.
Stats I got for us are Tsarukyan is 8-1 as the favorite, and Oliveira is 8-5 as a dog.
Yeah, but he started off his career very slow, and he's won 12 out of 13 since.
Right. I lean on that dog aspect. If you think about 12 out of 13 with the guy going 34-9 in his total career, in the recent times, anytime he was a dog, he's
something
won.
clicked for him.
I think Charles Oliveira is going to win this fight. I think he's going to prove that the dog is going to win, and he's got that dog in him.
Yeah, I got Bronx winning the fight. I'm a huge fan of him, and I think he still has more left in the tank. I got Bronx. Let's move on now
to some bad motherfuckers.
The BMF title, another former champ versus an interim champ.
Justin the Highlight Gaethje.
Justin the Highlight Gaethje, coming off of the RIP head kick knockout win against Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway.
Ugh.
His last fight, where he knocked out Zombie in Zombie's retirement fight, Korean Zombie that is. Max Holloway, 21-7 in the UFC, former 145 champ, as we all know. Probably has the best chin, maybe. Never been dropped in UFC history. And he's putting that to a test against one of the hardest hitters in Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, Max's last 3 losses were to Volk, which is crazy.
And none of them finishes.
I think this change in weight for Max is going to be a big help for his power.
Second time moving up to 155. Last time, although he lost, it was against Poirier, and it was like one of the best fights ever.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, I want that to be like on the finish list, but it can't be.
Yeah.
Because, it's...
If we did top 5 decisions, that would be on the list.
There's just not that many decisions that I would put up there. But yeah, Max Holloway's a dog. Gaethje's 2-1 as a favorite, but he's 0-1 a shorter reach. Max Holloway's 3-5 as a dog, but he's never been dropped, never been KO'd. He's only been subbed twice in his career, not anytime recent.
Out of the whole card, and that's saying a lot because we've gone through how much of a badass card this is. This may be the one I'm most excited for, and I have no idea what's going to happen in this fight.
I think Max Holloway's going to win. I think it's going to be a long, grueling fight, and I think it's going to hurt for both guys. It's going to hurt a lot. But I think Max Holloway, the blessed, he's going to come out on top. I think Gaethje's going to have to hand the belt over. I don't think the BMF title is something that's made to defend. I don't think it's one of those. I think it's one of those that it's like almost a curse. You come out, you get caught. You come out and you win it. You can't defend it much. You got to give it up.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. This is a tough one for me, but I'm picking blessed. I think it's going to be a decision win. As you said, I think it's going to be a grueling fight. It's going to be 2 guys just going out there, 2 bad motherfuckers, and it's going to be a bad fight. And I got blessed.
All right, our co-main.
Another former champ and current. Former champ who's also the current champ.
Former current champ. Weili Zhang Weili, the Magnum.
A fan favorite. If you don't like Zhang Weili...
I love her. She's cool, she's smiling.
Shut up.
She picked up Shaq that one time.
She picked up Shaq.
That's pretty cool because she's 5'4".
Remember when Rose fought her and she tried to do the I hate her because she's communist China, and everybody's like, bro, shut up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, damn, you just lost fans because you're talking shit on Zhang Weili. She's facing Yan Xiaonan.
A Chinese title fight. First time ever.
This is like fighting yourself in a mirror, but
They're
if
very
you
similar.
were fighting somebody who wasn't quite as good as you.
Listen to the similarities. Obviously, both Chinese.
Both 34.
Both 34. Both 8-2 in the UFC.
Both have 63-inch reach.
I mean, it's crazy.
They're both from China.
Both from China.
Do I need to say more?
Both have knocked out Jessica Andrade.
Yes.
Or beat Jessica Andrade.
You're right. Predominant strikers.
But yeah, that's the similarities.
Weili Zhang is 72 as a favorite. Yan is 3-1 as an underdog in the UFC, though.
It's not bad, but she's never been underdog against Weili.
You're right. Minus 525 odds. I'm forced to side with Zhang Weili. Due to that, I mean, she's not going to come out with a bad camp. She's not going to lose a fight to her own blood. Like, not blood, but her own, like, nationality. I don't think she's going to do that. That would be not good for her.
I got Weili, too. I think she puts on a masterful performance. I think she's, at the moment, the best female fighter on the UFC roster. Like, most complete pound,
like pound for pound, yeah.
And
I would agree.
And I think she shows that in this fight. I got Weili. I think she's going to get a finish.
And the main event, the masterful
main event, that there's no way this fight goes.
Smash the under.
Rounds. I mean, both of these guys are heavy hitters.
Yeah, Alex Pereira. I mean, he's 9-2 in his career. Jamal Hill's only 12-1. Both of these guys have mainlined or co-main like 4 or 5 UFC fights, and they've only been in the UFC.
On the Embedded today, somebody said something about, oh, we're in the Octagon first fight. And Pereira looked at the camera, he's talking to Glover, and he's like, I've never been in my whole career the first fight on the card.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah,
you've been that good from the beginning.
That's what Glover says, that you started at the top.
Yeah. I mean, look, you came into some tests, and you passed.
This is his first title defense at 205, and he's taking on a guy, Jamal Hill, who had the belt at 205, had to vacate because of injury.
Yep. Now, Jamal Hill, he has a chin, number one. His last loss was to Paul Craig. That was a brutal loss.
Paul, where he got his arm dislocated.
Yeah, and then just like got the shit beat out of him because he only had one arm.
But since then, he's been on a tear.
His last fight
was in January of 23, so about almost a year and a half ago, where he beat Glover Teixeira in a classic fight. Glover Teixeira, as I just mentioned, Potan's best friend and coach.
Right, but now they're saying like, you beat a 40-year-old man.
Oh, I get that argument, but
the 40-year-old man had just won the title.
Yeah, we were saying before that, like, holy shit, Glover was
right,
on top.
Like, you can't count the top. Like, the dude just
got the belt.
Right. Yeah. You can't count the guy out. I think Alex Pereira is going to retain his title. I don't think Jamal Hill is a bad fighter by any standpoint.
Well, no, he's former champs. 4 straight wins, 6-1-1 in the UFC. He's definitely not bad.
And I don't think he's out. You know, I don't think he's on a downswing on his career. I just think this is a big test. And I think Pereira being in the game as recently as he's been in the game, you know, he's been fighting a lot in the past few years.
Knocked out Yuri in November.
I mean, I think he's fresher. I think he's ready to go, and I think he's going to be here for the foreseeable future as the light heavyweight.
I mean, I think both guys, whoever connects clean first, can knock the other one out cold. But I think I agree with you. I think Pereira, he's been in there more. Jamal Hill, a little bit longer of a layoff because of the injury. I think Pereira is going to come in. I think he's the one that catches Jamal Hill first, and I got Pereira with a KO dub, and I think it's probably first, second, at latest third round.
Okay. Well, that pretty much will wrap up UFC 300. Let's jump directly into the last week recap for our UFC card, so we can run through that, and then we'll jump into our Week 9 stakes.
So a little stakes and takes?
A little stakes and takes. Let's have some. So last week I did 5-1 in the UFC. I only got Walter Walker wrong.
Oh, wow. I did not. I did 3-3.
So you got more than that wrong. Got it. So I won that portion.
I got Walker wrong, I got Trevor Peek wrong, and I got Shashery wrong, which I'm still mad about.
Fair enough.
So 3-3 UFC, but I'm at 4-0 in pick my own picks. I picked both Final Four games right. Purdue and UConn winning. And then I got Arsenal over Brighton. I got Leverkusen over Union Berlin.
See, I had Purdue right. I did pick Purdue to win. I thought Alabama was going to beat UConn. That was silly. Because they went on to win the national championship.
Yeah, then UConn won that and then dominated Purdue.
Yeah, but I got Purdue right. I got the Braves winning the Saturday game over the Diamondbacks. That was nice. But the Orioles didn't win, so I went 2-2 and picked my own picks. On happier news than that, I did go 5-0 in stakes. So if anybody followed me, you made some money.
I went 4-1.
So same for
not
you.
Bad. The only one I got wrong was one I only put one unit on, and it was Shashery. So I'm not that upset about it.
But you just said you're still mad, so
I'm
neither
mad
here nor there.
because I think he won the fight. But I got Allen moneyline right. Thank God. I got Purdue moneyline right. I put 4 units on that. I got Leverkusen moneyline right, and I got Arsenal moneyline right.
Nice. So that brings us to 8 weeks through. I'm 49, 29, and 2. Christian, you are 50, 28, and 2 for your takes. For our stakes, I'm 22, 11, and 2. Christian, you are 20 and 5. You're down 6.61 units. I'm up 5.41 units. What you got going on for stakes for week 9?
So
to wrap it all
week
up.
9, we did exclusively UFC because of this badass UFC 300 card. So I have 5 UFC bets.
Nice.
I'm going to start off. All mine are going to have 2 units, so I'm just evenly dispensing my units this week.
I respect it.
I got main event Alex Pereira moneyline minus 130. I got former champ Yuri Prochazka moneyline plus 100. I got Diego Lopez moneyline minus 140. I got the opener Figueiredo moneyline minus 130, and then I have fan favorite former champ Charles do Bronx Oliveira moneyline plus 185.
Damn, I have a lot of that. Nice. I have Alex Pereira money line. I'm doing 2 units on everything as well. I got Alex Pereira money line minus 130. Charles Oliveira money line plus 185. Yuri Prochazka money line plus 100. Jalen the Tarantula Turner money line minus 235. And Jim Miller money line plus 155 to win his 3rd tricentennial. Is that what you would say?
Well,
100, 200, and 300?
Tricentennial would just be like your 300th anniversary.
Yeah, win at UFC 300. There you go. The UFC 300 that's not actually UFC 300.
Yeah, so I think that wraps up episode 40. So check us out next week. There's no UFC card, but we are going to recap this crazy card of UFC 300.
Yeah, that'll take a minute.
We're going to bring some picks, as always. I think next week, because there's no UFC, I'm thinking maybe 10 picks each.
Yeah.
There's going to be NBA playoffs we're going to cover. There's baseball going on. There's a lot going on sports-wise. So check us out next week.
We're back. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, guys.